Hey everybody, Lonnie here. Do you happen to know what time it is? Well, picture this. If there were 50 people watching this video simultaneously, which I know my videos are not that popular, so that probably isn't going to happen anytime soon, but let's just say it is happening. And I asked everybody, and I asked you watching this video, what time is it? And I bet you that out of the 50 people, we're going to get back a lot of different answers. So that is the problem with time. And we're going to talk about how this affects us when we're working on the Pi system. The title of this video is Be Kind, Using Time Correctly When Querying a Pi System. And we'll understand why I'm using that title at the end of this video. It's going to be a quick one, but believe me, you want to watch it because you'll pull your hair out if you don't. So stay tuned. So let's say that you need to query the Pi system and get some data out of it, and you want to get data for the last 24 hours on a specific attribute of an element. That shouldn't be too hard. All we need to do is pull in some trend values. We can use that information maybe in a display or something like that. Well, we're going to have to deal with time in this, and I'm going to show you a pitfall that you may encounter when you're doing this, depending on how you go about querying for the Pi system using date time fields. So let's go ahead and set it up, and I'll show you what can happen when things go wrong. So here I have the standard application that we've been using through all of these through this whole Pi tip series. Go back to some of the earlier episodes and I explain how this connection is set up and what you need to do to get it working on your end. Anyway, let's go ahead and run it just to make sure that everything's connecting to our to my test server, and it looks good. Everything's connecting. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and query for an element for a specific asset of an antimatter relay and pull in some attribute values over the last 24 hours that we could use for trending. If I come and look at my Pi system here, I have under core 1A, I have a bunch of relays. And let's go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and pull in T001. If I come over here to our element searches, we can just try to get a new search going, see what that would look like. We know that the template is an antimatter relay, and we want to find T001 and search, and there we have it. Okay, so that's our string that we want to use for the search. And if you watched the previous video, you've seen me do this before. If you're not sure what's happening here, well, watch that and you can go into a little bit more in depth. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set up our query to pull that element in. Set these to single quotes. And then we'll go ahead and use our AF element search right here, and we want to send in our database, give it a name, and we'll send in that query. And let's go ahead and pull that out. We're going to use our find elements, and here we want to have our start index at 0. Sure, we'll do it full load, and our page size we can do 1000. In this case, we're only going to pull in one, so let's just do one. Now I want to only get one element here, so I'm going to use a link extension called first or default. And what that does for us is it will just take the first element in this. Because remember, find elements is going to return a IEnumerable of elements. Even though I'm only going to return one element, it's still going to be in a list. So we want to just get that first one, and we want to set this relay to the type AF element. If there is nothing in the list, if it doesn't find our relay, then it's this is going to end up being null, and that's what the default is about. If you're not seeing this come up in your IntelliSense, is because you need to have this using link statement in here. Otherwise, that won't work. All right, so like I said, if our relay does not equal null, then we want to go ahead and process some of this information. I want to take this element and set up an interpolated values search off of it. So the first thing we're going to need is some times. And I'm going to set up my end time, and that'll be the end of the query. And we're going to go datetime now. Then I'll start up my, do my start time. And we'll take our end time, we'll add days, and I'm going to go back 1 day for 24 hours. Then I need to set up an AF time range, because this is what we're going to pass in when we do our search. An AF time range, we'll call this range, and that's going to be equal to new AF time range, and we'll pass in our start and end. And the last thing we're going to need is a time span. Oh, one thing I should mention here is if you're not seeing AF time range come up, this is part of our namespace af.time. Okay, now I'm going to set up an AF time span, which will be the last thing we're going to need to do our query. And that is just going to be AF time span, and we want to do a parse. And in the parse, I'm going to put in our, this is going to be the interval that we want to use, and I'm just going to do 24 hours, and I'm going to do a reading every hour is what I want to see, just so we're not pulling in too much data for this sample. And then now we're going to go ahead and get our values. I want to pick up an ion charge, which is an attribute as part of my element. And then we're going to go ahead and do data and interpolated values right here. And now we're going to pass in all these things that we've been creating. Our range, our span, and then the next thing is the unit of measure. If I set it to null, it'll just return to default, which is fine. And then the filter expression, we're not going to filter any of the values, so we're going to go ahead and just set that to an empty string. And then include filtered values, since we're not filtering anything out, I'll just say false. We don't need to do anything with that. So that will give us our relay attributes. We're going to pull in data for our ion charge for 24 hours, the 1 day, and we're going to do it get a reading every hour. Let's go ahead and write that out just so that we can see it. And we're going to do a value, and we just want to iterate through our values. And this is going to be a double is what I want to look. So we'll do value as double is what I want to take a look at. And then we'll display the timestamp. We'll just convert that to a string. All right, let's give this a test run, see what happens. We can see that we have our values starting at 2:11 and 22 seconds, 7:19, that's the end time, that's right now, going back to 7:18, the same time. So we're reading values over 24 hours, every hour. Now I'm looking at this and I don't like it. I think that I would like to have these kind of even to where we're only showing it on the hour. Starting, this would be at 2 o'clock, then we would see 1, 12, all the way back to 2 the previous day. Just for my OCD part of me, just to keep that happy. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is where you might run into a little bit of problems. So we're going to come in and I'm thinking, how could I do this? I go, well, if I set my end time to the even hour, whatever that might be, if I just get on the now component, if I just get the date and the hour component and drop everything off, that'll give me will give me a nice even top of the hour type of thing. Because I think what I'll do here is I'm going to say this is now, and we'll do we'll set up an end time, and that's going to be equal to a new date time. And in the date time, I can initialize this with something like this. I can give it a year, month, day, hour, minute, and second, and that's what I want to go ahead and do. So let's just take the now component, and we're going to take the year, and we'll take the now component and the month, day, and hour, and the minute and the second. We'll just leave those. So that should give me exactly what I'm looking for, starting at 2 o'clock today, going back to 2 o'clock tomorrow. So let's go ahead and 2 o'clock yesterday. Let's go ahead and run this, and we're all set, and then we can go on to our next task. Wow, I almost choked on my coffee there. What the heck is happening? Look at this, 7 a.m. today, the 19th, to 7 a.m. yesterday. 7 a.m. It's 2:15 p.m. right now. So that is not making any sense to me. Why are we getting this? Why are we having this problem? If I look at 7 a.m., that's about 7 hours difference. Let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yep, that's 7 hours. Okay, so this is the problem right here, and this can cause headaches. You're thinking, why is this off? This has something to do with UTC, because I'm in California and I'm 7 hours offset from UTC. So we know that something's happening with UTC local time. My query before worked perfectly fine. I didn't have to do any kind of conversion. Now this is not working. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you an explanation as to what's going on here. There is in Pi, typically the Pi system, most systems I've ever worked on, with very few exceptions, store data in UTC, which is what we really want, right? We don't really care about where the end user is when we store the data. We want to make sure we capture it in UTC. Then we do our conversions when we're querying into it and we're querying out of it, and we're going from local to UTC. Now, if you notice in that first query, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to tell it UTC. I gave it my local times that are running on my computer. It went in, queried the data, pulled it out, and gave me back the data in local time. Exactly what I was expecting to have happen. What's happening here is we're setting up a new date time value, but we're not indicating whether it's local or UTC with this method that I used to initialize a new date time. And the Pi system, if it's unclear about what it is, then it treats it as UTC. And so what it thinks that I asked for is I asked for values that were at 2 p.m. UTC, not 2 p.m. local time. So it went ahead and pulled those values back. They came back, then they got converted back to local time, and that's why I ended up going back 7 hours, because actually if it's 2 p.m. UTC, that would be 7 a.m. local time, and that's exactly what we saw. So how do we fix that? Coming back to our code, I'm going to put a breakpoint right here, and I'll show you what the component is what we need to set up correctly to get this to work. It's not very difficult, but if you don't know about it, you no hope. So here, if we look at our, I'm going to open up our date time here, and if you notice, there's this property called kind, and it's unspecified, that's where our problem is coming from. We need to give that, we need to specify it local or UTC. If it's unspecified, Pi treats it as UTC. If we look at now, which is what we were using before in our previous end time, you can see the kind is set to local. So it's pretty simple to do that. All we have to come over is there's actually, in this date time initialization, there is we can give it a last parameter called kind, and now you understand why you want to do that. And we want to set this up as a date time kind, and we want to tell it local. This will get this configured just like before, and then this should work exactly the way that we want it to. Excellent. Now we're getting our data from 2 p.m. Today to 2 p.m. yesterday, and we're not doing any crazy stuff with UTC. Everything's going in local and coming out local, and that's exactly what we want to happen. So I know this was a little bit maybe more involved just to get around to tell you to set this property to kind, but I wanted to take some time to explain how these queries are happening and why we don't really, typically we're not worrying about converting things to UTC because it kind of happens magically, but there is this property that the Pi system looks at every time to figure out how it should handle that query and when to convert or not convert. So that is the trick. Make sure you're using kind, or you understand how kind gets set, because sometimes when you're manipulating date time fields, that does not necessarily get initialized. As you can see, I just showed one way that it could happen. So I also want to show you a couple of links around time, since we're on the subject, that will give you a little bit more in-depth information. This video here, that is a really great introductory video to the Pi system as a whole, and how time is kind of addressed within the Pi system. It's a time series database, so time is really half of what this database is storing is values in time. So it's super critical to get a fundamental understanding of how time is dealt with. If you're watching this video, you may already know this, but if you don't, I just want to provide that. The other link is an advanced link, and this is by my good friend Rick Davin, who is working at OSIsoft now. I've known Rick for a long time, and he really is who I consider the authority on time within the Pi system, as far as within our community. And this link here is going through a bunch of little things around time and how it's handled within Pi, and there's a couple other blog posts that he's also put up about time. So if you really want to start diving in and getting a very firm grasp on what happens with time within the Pi system, check that out. And thanks, Rick, for putting this blog up. And this actually was what inspired me to do this video. So hopefully with this video and with your blog post that everybody should bookmark, we've got it covered. Alright, so that is it for time. Thanks again for watching. We're going to keep the videos rolling. Once again, if you have any ideas or things that you're really scratching your head about when it comes to data access in the Pi system, go ahead and do a post in the comment area, and I'll try to get to it. And if you like these videos, then please press the like button. And if you really are getting into this and you want to follow me in the videos, I'm posting videos regularly now. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and then you'll get updates as far as when I'm putting videos up. Right now, I'm on a pace to put up videos once a week, every Monday. Hopefully, I can sustain that. So far, it seems to be going pretty well. And I'm also working on some larger series around building a dashboard using Angular 6 and the Pi system, and a few other things in there also that should be a multiple series thing. So hopefully I'll get that done here over the next few weeks, and I can get that up. My name's Lonnie. Thanks for watching, and I hope these videos are useful for you and you're learning some stuff here. And keep at it. These are great skills. Keep developing them and working on them, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.